Hello and welcome to this tutorial on how to make a football game in Scratch. Here we've got Scratch the cat, there he is, happy days, and my other character which is Avery, and they're going to be playing football. Now here in the football pitch we can walk around as we're doing there. I'm using for the Scratch the cat, I'm using the WASD keys for Scratch the cat, and then for him to kick the ball we're going to use the C key, which is all good, and for Avery let's get him to kick the ball, way good stuff. And for Avery, we are using the arrow keys, and then for her to kick the ball, we are going to use the L key. This means that you can get a nice two-player game going there. There we go. Let's get the ball off there. Okay, so how does it work? Well, here we go. Our players move around. When they touch the ball, then there'll be some kind of dribbling going on, just like you do in normal football. And then you can kick the ball. If you kick the ball up into the corner or off onto the side, you can see that it bounces quite well. Also we don't know on cheating by putting it into the side of the net. So if you kick the ball while it's near to the side of the net, then it will just bounce off. But if you do manage to get the ball in, Avery's going to score an own goal here. And, oh no, she's not. Let's get Scratch going. Then if you do manage to score a goal, if you just push it near, then you should. There we go. Let's get it there. Hey, oh no, no good. Goal, excellent. If you do score a goal, then as you can see, the player score changes by 1, and the ball is returned to the centre of the pitch, which is all very good. Let's get another goal. Goal, and let's get a bit of an own goal. Go. Oh no, missed. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing we need to do is we need to go to Scratch. So we go to Scratch and let's create a new project. Once we've created a new project, the first thing I always do is I change the project name to football game or to whatever it is that I'm making on that day. That means that I'll always, when I save my project, I'll always be able to find it quite easily. If you start to make lots of projects like I do, very quickly, if you've got Untitled 1, Untitled 2, Untitled 27, you forget which game it is that you were working on. So there we are, I've got Scratch the cat, and let's get a new sprite, and we'll get Avery, she's walking, there we go, let's have a go. Avery's walking, good stuff. And let's make Avery a bit smaller. There we go. Good stuff. And at the moment, Avery, her costume is facing that way, which is no good. So let's turn around the other way. Here we go. Let's just flip all her costumes so she's facing the right way. If you have characters that are top-down characters, you won't need to do this because it doesn't really matter where they walk. And let's just point her in the direction of -90. There we go. Oh, no, that's no good. And let's just turn her around. Which way? Up. No. Why is she not turning? Oh, that's why. Because I've just there we go. Ah, okay. What happened there is, if you look, let's turn that the other way around. 1, 2, 3, 4. You have to be really careful. If you click on the scripts pointing direction and you've not changed all your costumes, then like me, you're going to get a little bit confused. So let's set this down to -90. There we go. Let's just turn her facing that way. There we go. There we go. Avery's starting to look as if she's walking in the right direction now. That's okay. That's okay. Oh, there we go. I'll have a go at that. I'm not entirely sure what's happened there. Scratch went a bit funny. So now we've got Scratch the cat and we've got Avery. So first thing we're going to do is going to program Scratch so he can walk around. And as always, we put it inside of a forever loop. This is a much better way. We don't use the when space key or anything like that. We always put it inside a loop. It's much smoother. And we use it with an if statement. So let's have a look. Scratch the cat. There we go. So here we go. Scratch we're going to do. Let's have a look. If we press the W key, if W key is pressed, then we will walk forwards. W key is pressed, and then let's move 10 steps. Let's have a look. So that should, if I press start, there you go. So Scratch is moving forwards, good. And if we duplicate that and press the S key, then he's going to move backwards, so minus 10 steps. There we go. Let's have a look. Forwards, backwards, forwards, backwards. And that's great. But what if we want to change the speed of characters? Well, it's probably a good idea if we create player 1 speed. There we go. Well, let's create some player speed variables so that it's easier later if we want to change our game, so we do special things like change the player speed. You could just change that variable and it will change all of the moving speeds. So there we go. So we swapped that hard-coded 10 steps for player 1 speed, and this one here is going to need to be minus 10 steps or whatever the speed is. So we'll do 0 minus the player speed. That means they walk backwards rather than forwards. Of course, all of this is pretty useless unless at the start of the game we change the player speed to we set it to something. So now every time we press the W key, we'll move whatever the player 1 speed is. There we go. And every time we press the S key, we'll move minus whatever the speed is. So let's have a look. Press space. There you go. So again, it's moving backwards and forwards. Good stuff. Perfect. So there you go. So that backwards and the forwards is done. That's all right. And if we add some next costumes in there with the Scratch, it should make him walk. Scratch has only got 2 costumes, so this will work perfectly. And now, there we go, he walks forwards and he walks backwards. Perfect. So let's move that over there. Now let's do the left and the right. So if we are pressing the A key, then we want to turn left. Let's have a look. Turn. Let's go 15 degrees left. And if we are pressing the D key, we want to do 15 degrees to the right. There we go. So now let's have a look. We go right, we go left, and we can walk around. Good. Perfect. Now he's sort of moving a little bit quickly. He's turning a little bit too quickly for my liking. So I'm going to put that down to 8 degrees each way. It makes it a little bit harder in the game, but it's more fun. Because he's got to move around a bit. He can't move around the spot. It makes the game a little bit more fun when we actually start to play it. Good. So Scratch is moving around. He's very happy. Good stuff. So let's sort Avery out. Let's just drag that code over there into Avery. And let's change this. W would be the up arrow. S will be the down arrow. Pressing the left arrow should turn you left, and pressing the right arrow should turn you right. Let's have a look. Let's start. She goes forward, she goes backwards, and what's she doing here? Oh, doesn't seem to be turning at all. Ah, yes, that's why. Okay, the problem with Avery is in normal Scratch games, she's not designed to turn around like Scratch does. So Scratch turns around. The game normally says we only want it to walk left or right, so it's stopping me from doing that. And the way we do that is we click on the info on Avery, and we change her rotation style to the roundabout one like that. And that means now I will get a little bit less confused, and we can walk around just like that. That's okay. Good. Now that we've done that, it has noticed that I've changed them all around. So we're going to have to swap her around. Let's just flip her that way. Flip, flip, and flip. There we go. So Avery is now walking around like that, which is good. I've noticed though, if I press forward, she moves backwards. If I press backwards, she moves forwards. So what we could do here is we could just swap around the up arrow and the down arrow keys pressed, which would make that work. But the problem with that is if you do that, it causes problems further down the line. What we're going to do instead is we're going to cheat, and we're going to just we're going to flip it upside down. There we are, let's go. So you'll probably have to mess about with Avery a little bit just to get her to do this, but eventually what you should be able to see is that the keys will work as they should do. When I press them, she'll walk as she's supposed to. It might take a little bit of fiddling. Just try changing the costumes until it works. Just have to have a look around, which is good. There we go. So now we've got Scratch and we've got Avery there working. If you do use other sprites, so for instance, if you use the top-down sprites like a beetle, then you'll probably find this a lot easier, or the crab. You'll find that a lot easier. You won't come into the same problems. But we're ready to go now. Scratch is moving. When I press left, he turns left. When I press right, he turns right. So is Avery. She walks forward. When I press left, she goes left. When I go right, she goes right. Excellent. Good. So now we're ready to add the ball. Let's add a ball to our game. There we go. In fact, before we do that, though, let's go to the stage. Let's go to the backdrop. And let's add a nice green football pitch backdrop. There we go. Football pitch is ready to go. There we go. Good stuff. So let's get a new sprite. Let's go get the ball. And once the ball appears on the pitch, that's a little bit big. Looks like we're playing with a beach ball. So let's just shrink that down. There we go. So we've got a ball there, and the ball's ready to go. Now, here with the ball, when we press the start, we want him to go to the center, but we'll do that in a little bit. And here what we want to do is, when we touch the ball, we're going to change the ball speed. So it would be a good idea to set the ball speed to 0 when we start. So let's create a new variable, ball speed. And the ball speed is how we're going to control how it speeds up and it slows down. If we set the ball speed, then it's easier to control it there with a variable. And we're going to add a loop. And what we want to do is, let's say the ball's moving along. If we don't want it to be like air hockey where we hit the ball and it keeps going dung 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 dung. We want it so that if we kick it, it slowly slows down to a stop. And the easiest way to do that is we say, if the ball speed is greater than 0, if the ball speed is greater than 0, then we'll set the ball speed to half of what it was. So divided by 2. There we go. So if the ball speed is greater than 0, we set the ball speed to half what it was. So if I kick the ball and it starts at 20, and it's starting to go a lot at 20, then it will go 20 per second, 10 per second, 5 per second, 2 per second, 1, half, and it will slowly slow down to a stop. There we go. Good. So there we go. We've now got the ball. Excellent. Good stuff. And now what we want to do is we want to try and kick the ball. So let's say I'm here and I press the C button. What we want to say is, when I press the C button, if I'm touching the ball, then let's kick the ball. So if I press the C button, C key. So if the C key is pressed and the, let's have a look if we could put that inside there. If the C key is pressed and you're touching the ball, if the C key is pressed and you're touching the ball, then let's kick the ball. Well, what does that mean? Well, what we're going to do at the moment is we'll let the ball control it's what happens when it's kicked. It's easier to let the ball control. So let's broadcast a message, and let's say kick ball. Player 1 kick ball. There we go. So player 1 has kicked the ball. So if I come over here and I press C, it will broadcast that player 1 has kicked the ball. So what do we want to happen to the ball when it gets kicked? Well, when I receive player 1 has kicked the ball, what we need to do is we need to change the ball speed to 20. And that should make it move. So let's have a look. If I do 20, good. Press start. And good, that's okay. You can see the ball speed is changing to 20 when it gets kicked. So all we need to do now is say, okay, when it's been kicked, that's good. If this ball, set the speed to half. Of course, we'll have to move the ball. And how much we're going to move it by? Well, we'll move it ball speed steps. So now if I go there, it's starting to do it. And every time I kick the ball, it moves a bit. But at the moment, it's moving quite slow. It's only moving a small distance. And the reason being is because this loop here happens so quickly that it reduces the speed too quickly. So instead of doing that, let's just add a little bit of a wait in there so it reduces that speed. Let's do 0.2 seconds wait. 0.2. And this should now mean that every time I kick the ball, it should go a little bit further. Let's have a look. Nope, that's not right. We'll put that in the wrong second. The reason it's not right is because it slows down all that. We'll have to have a separate loop. Let's have a look. Wherever we'll put this in a separate loop. This is the ball. This is the loop that moves it, and now it should. Nope. Oh, I haven't pressed space again. There you go. So now it's starting to look a little bit better. Here we go. Let's try that again. We kick it. Yeah, it's moving a good distance, but there we go. It's still slowing down. That's better. So let's show you that code again. So we had two separate loops. One is the one that moves it, whatever speed it needs to go. And the other one here is the one that controls the speed it's going to be moving at. Two separate loops. And this is just whenever I kick the ball, set that speed to 20. And also what you can say as well is here, if you notice when we kick that against the wall, it stops. Really, we want that to bounce off the wall rather than do that. So let's move that ball speed number of steps. And if we are on the edge, then we'll bounce. Let's start that again. And now let's have a quick go. Let's get Scratch. In fact, let's have a proper go this time. If we kick the ball, it's going, it's going, it's going. There you go. And it's starting to move. But there's still a problem here, because if you notice, every time I kick the ball, which direction is it moving? Well, it's just moving whatever direction the ball was facing in at the time. Now, we don't want to do that. What we want to say is, okay, if Scratch kicks the ball and he's facing this way, then we want the ball to go up. If Scratch is facing this way when he kicks the ball, we want the ball to go down. Now, the easiest way to do that is we keep track of the direction that Scratch is in. So, forever, let's create a quick variable and call it player 1 direction. Set player 1 direction. And in this loop, the main player loop, first thing we always do is just set the player direction to whatever direction that player is facing in. So let's have a look. If I actually, what I'll do is I'll put that player 1 direction bit here after we've done all our moving, just before where we kick the ball, which is just there. There we go. So set player 1 direction, that's the variable, to whatever the player's direction is. Good. So now every sort of 10 times a second, 100 times a second, it sets the player 1 direction variable to whatever direction player 1 is facing in. And you can see that if you watch this variable as I turn Scratch, he turns in whatever direction he's going. There we go. Excellent. Good stuff. So, and what that means now is that because we've got that variable that Scratch is changing all the time, then here the ball can use that direction. There we go. So whenever, if player 1 kicks me, then what we'll do is we'll change the direction of the ball point in direction, we'll get the player 1 direction, hopefully. Let's try that. There we go, press play, whenever I receive it, so let's have a look. So now it should go, there you go. So now if I kick it down, it goes down. If I kick it left, it goes left. Let's have a go. Excellent, perfect, good. Good. And that's working perfectly, excellent, good stuff. So player 1 is doing that, and he's doing that fine. So next one, so that's, if you press kick, then it kicks it. But what about if you don't actually kick it? Well, if you don't kick it and you just want to sort of dribble the ball, effectively you want to do something similar to what happened when you kick it, but just don't move it as far. So this time you can use the same sort of code from here, but we don't need to press the C key because we're not going to be kicking it. So we just want to know if we're touching the ball. There we go. If we're touching the ball, then this time we're just going to broadcast a message saying dribble, because we're going to dribble the ball. And this time round, when I receive dribble, point in the direction of the player, and let's just set the ball speed to something like 3 or 4. So this time it won't go as far, but there you go. You can see as I just walk past the ball, we're already starting to dribble it. We could do some sort of fancy moves perhaps if we're that good, but I'm not that good. Let's just kick it. There we go. Let's kick the ball. Now, at the moment, we've got a problem because it won't let us kick the ball. It's not letting us kick it now. So what's happened here is it's obviously disabled the kicking function. So what do? Well, in that case, here, where we've got the if and then the following if, what we'll do is we'll change that for an if-else. So if they kick the ball, then do that. Otherwise, if they're touching the ball, do that. And that hopefully will sort that out. Let's have a look. We've still got the dribble. And now if I press C, yeah, there we go. So there's a little bit of problem solving for you. Just think, why could that be happening? And so he only tries to dribble if he's not kicking the ball, which should work perfectly. Good. There we go. So now we've got a ball that we can kick and the ball that we can dribble. Let's do the same thing for the player 2. There we are, that's player 2. So let's have a look at that. We're going to need, which code's going to be used? This code here, isn't it? So let's get that code out of there. Let's drag it into Avery, and then let's put that code back. And that's all good. We're going to need a player 2 direction. Player 2 direction. Good. And there's that code that I've just dragged in. Let's put it down the bottom. Let's set player 2 direction to whatever to the direction that player 2 is, which is Avery. Now this time it's not going to be the C, it's going to be the L key. L. If L is pressed and touches the ball, then we want to do player 2 kick the ball. And there we go. Dribble. Okay, so what we'll have to do here is, this dribble is no good. Let's rename, let's rename dribble to new message player 1 dribble. We're gonna have to do it for both now. So that's player 1 dribble. We'll have to change that dribble there to player 1 dribble. Good. And which means now here, new message player 2 dribble. There we go, player 2 dribble. So we've got player 2 kick the ball, player 2 dribble. Player 2's got their speed and it changes their direction, which is good. And now we just need to duplicate these. Duplicate that one, duplicate that one. That's going to be player 2 kick the ball. And this time you don't point in player 1's direction, point in player 2's direction. Get rid of player 1, point in player 2. There we go, and change that to player 2 dribble. Set ball speed to 3. So hopefully, let's have a look. She walks around, she touches the ball. Yep, looks like she's dribbling. And let's try kicking it. Excellent. So she can dribble the ball and she can kick it. There we go. That's good. Kick, kick, kick. Good. So both characters can kick the ball and they can both dribble it, which is perfect. So now we're ready to start introducing our goals. So let's add a goal. I'm going to do a nice simple, I'm going to do a nice square white goal post just like that. There's a nice square goal post. That's okay. Let's click on the lines. Let's see some little lines in between. Goalposts like lines. There we go. Nice little lines. Nice little lines. I'm sure you can make a much neater job than I've done. There we go. There we go. There we go. There we go. So we've got some goals there. And what I will do is, on the outside of the goals, I'll just make some goalposts that are slightly different colour. And the reason being is, if we do that, it means that in a bit, when we start to program it, we can make the ball bounce off these little spits to the side quite easily. There we go. That's all done. Let's put that in the centre of my sprite so we know that where that's at. There's one of the posts, which is good. Let's just make it a bit smaller. It's a little bit big, that. That's probably about right. There's my post. And we'll move that post there. Perfect. Let's duplicate it and let's move that post over there. There we go. So we've got two posts, one post here, one post here. You'll notice that the variables are starting to get quite crowded on our screen. So let's go back to our variable section and let's just hide all these variables so we don't have to see. Good. And now what we can say is we can deal with the outside of our goals, and we can say if it touches the outside of the goals, then it'll just bounce off. It'll bounce off. So let's go to our ball. There we are there. There we are. And we'll add it to this bouncing bit there because it's all about bouncing. So if we are touching the colour grey, touching colour grey, then if we are, and this next bit, we need to have a little bit of cleverness because what we need to say is if we're going down this way, it needs to bounce back that way. If we're going this way when it hits it, it needs to bounce back that way. So we need a little bit of maths in there. And the way we do this, we say if the direction it's pointing in is less than, is it ball direction? If the direction the ball is pointing in is less than 180, then we're going to go and we're going to increase that by 180, which will make it bounce back up. Pointing direction, and there we go. So we'll point in direction. So if our direction is less than 180, we're going to point it in a direction that's going to be, let's say it's 90, then we're going to point in the direction of 90 plus 180, which is 270. Otherwise, what we'll do is we will point in the direction of whatever the direction is. Let's say it's 270 minus 180. So there we go. And this hopefully now will mean that if we come along, if we hit against one of these posts, it will start to bounce. There you go. You can see it bouncing against the post. It'll need a little bit of tweaking, but you can see the idea. Let's just try and kick it against the post. There you go. It's starting to bounce off the post. So rather than it go straight through the post, we can now kick it into the post, and it will bounce back off. Let's kick it there. Oops. There we go. So it bounces back off the post. Good. So now we've got two players that are working, a ball that moves, posts that bounce off. How do we do the scoring? Well, what we're going to do is the scoring is nice and simple. Start of the game, we create two variables, player 1 score, player 2 score. There we go. And at the start of the game, we set the player 1 score to 0, set the player 2 score to 0. There we go. And what we're going to say is anytime, let's put those up there, Anytime the ball goes inside an area inside of here, then we increase the player 2 score by 1 and then move the ball straight back out. Anytime that the ball goes in this area, we increase player 1 score by 1 and we move the ball straight back out. So how do we find out if it's inside of this area? Well, the easiest way to do it is if you create a new sprite, and this one, paint him the same green as the background. Oh, actually, don't do that yet. First of all, paint him white and do a nice, let's do a rectangle, a nice rectangle in white. Let's make sure he's in the center. There we go. And then create a white rectangle there and put the white rectangle in the back of your goal there. Good. And then we duplicate that one. There we go. So we got 2, 1, 2. Excellent. There we go. 1, 2. And once we've done that, the reason I put them in white is so I can see where they're going to. If they were in green, we want to see where they're going to. Once we've put them in the right position, we go to our costume and let's go and let's just paint it back in green. There we go. Wrong green. That green. There we go. We painted that one back in the right green. Let's paint that one back in the right green. Good. Now you'll notice that these here now are still at the top. That's because they're on the top of the other ones. So let's go back 1 layers. Keep clicking this until it goes right to the back. There, I've done that one. Let's go here. Go back 1 layers. Just keep clicking it until it goes back and it's hidden. So now what we want to say is, there we go. So this one, that's on the left. If forever, let's add another loop. So check forever. If we are touching the ball, then if that one is touching the ball, then it is change player 2 score by 1. And we also want to move the ball back from where it will be, which will be in here somewhere, straight back to the middle. The easiest way to do that is let's create a new broadcast and call it ball to center. Ball to center. There we go. So we change the player 2 score by 1 and send the ball back to center. This one will have exactly the same thing, but instead of changing the player 2 score, we're going to change the player 1 score. There we go. And the ball to center. And then the ball here, whenever I receive ball to center, then we go to 0, 0. So now, if we press play, let's have a quick look. Let's have a go. We shoot a ball around here somewhere. Let's try and put it in there. There we go. Let's try and shoot it into the nets. Ooh, just off the post. Goal! There you go. Excellent. And let's put it back in there. Let's score an own goal. There we go. Oh, it's just... Ah, there you go. So there's an error, isn't it? Straight away. So whenever we kick it, not only do we want to send it back to the center, but we want to change its speed, the ball speed, when I receive ball to center. Change the ball speed, set the ball speed, there you go. Set the ball speed to 0. And there we go. That's good. Now, a few more tweaks. Let's have a look. Okay, when I press start, no one seems to go anywhere where they're supposed to go. So let's get Scratch when I press... Oh, no, let's move that back. There we go. When I press start, I want Scratch to go here. So I drag him where I want to go first. And then I say, go to there. Good stuff. And let's make sure he's pointing in the right direction as well. Pointing in direction 90. There's Avery. When I press start, I want her to go back to here. So let's go to here. Oops. Don't put it inside there. So when I press start, go to there. And let's point her in the direction. I think her direction is minus 90. Yes, hers needs to be minus 90 because she was upside down. Let's have a look. Yay, there you go. So anytime I press start, it goes back to minus 90. I've noticed when I press start, though, for some reason the player score is not going down to 0. What have I done there? Player 1. Ah, there you go. Player 1 score, not player 1 speed. Player 1 score, player 2 score. So now, when I press start, the scores are reset to 0 and the players move back to the start. I wonder if the ball does. Nope, the ball doesn't. So let's do the same for the ball. Let's move the ball back to the center. When I press start, let's go to, that actually needs to be dead center, so let's put that as 0, 0. There we go. And now, that's good. Excellent, good. So we score there, don't we? That's good. Okay, good. Now that ball, it's scoring a little bit too early because of where that green thing is. So let's make the green thing, let's just, where is the green thing? Let's make it a bit smaller. So how are we going to make it smaller? Well, the easiest way to do it is just don't bother trying to find it when it's green. Just click on it as it's blue. Let's click on that. Let's make it smaller again. You want to be about that sort of size. Let's move that to the back. Put your net back over it. We'll do the same with the other one. Don't worry about the colour just yet. So we click there and change the colour to blue. Move the net out of the way. Make it a little bit smaller. Same sort of size. Move it right to the back. Make sure it's nice and centered. There we are. And that one's centered as well. Good. Excellent. So now they're both centered. It's a bit further back, so your ball should work a bit better. And finally, let's just change our costumes back to green. There you go. There's one costume back to green, and there's another costume back to green. There we go. Good. And let's have a look at that now. If that does there, let's have a quick go. Shoot, 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 shoot. Yeah, that's a bit better, isn't it? So that's okay. Oh, let's just have a go with that. Yeah, that's a bit better. That's a bit better. Good. What you could do, you could change it so that instead of the ball going straight back to the center, it pops, it hides for a second or so, and maybe you have a countdown that goes, 3, 2, 1, round 2. Other improvements, well, you could have a game over screen, so the first to 5 goals, or a countdown timer. So when you press start, it counts down from 5 minutes, and then after the 5 minutes, it says who's won depending on how many goals they've got. You could add some sound to it. So instead of just being nice and quiet, if you press it there, you could have a ball kick sound, a bounce sound, a goal cheering sound, where 2 players go to close to each other, a dribbling sound, a game start sound. So you can have all those sorts of sound. Maybe some background music. Anyway, that's the tutorial all done. Good luck and have fun.